I'm going to turn on the record real quick. So today is, what is today? Today is June 1st, 2016. Son of a gun. All right, so what I've been asked to go over today is, to start with, was a demo of the RingCentral Web Phone and how to get this thing to work. I think people might be having issues with it. So what we're going to be doing today is just kind of covering how this works from soup to nuts and how you can demo this to customers if you need to. So the RingCentral Web Phone is, you can think of it like an SDK, but what it really is what's called a client library. Client meaning the browser. So in this particular case, Chrome, but it could be other browsers that support it, that support WebRTC. Before we get into that, let's take a look at this little tool I use called Can I Use? Just do a quick search for that. Inside of Can I Use, we'll say WebRTC, and let's see what shows up. We can see inside of here, WebRTC peer-to-peer connections allows people to communicate using the browser with a WebRTC connection. We can see that Firefox latest build should be supporting that. Chrome has obvious support, and then Opera. So Chrome is the safest browser that you can run with. I haven't tested it with Firefox yet. I have tested it without Opera, and it seemed to work okay there. But Chrome is the safest browser. So this is just a handy little tool if you ever need to look something up. So if you need to find out, can I use the video element, which is part of what we use inside of some of our demo code. You need to find out, can that be used inside of here. So if you ever need to know, caniuse.com, that's a really cool place to go find out what the current browser states of support for things are. So the RingCentral Web Phone is a client library. This is code that you would pull into your web application to be able to enable voice calls out using RingCentral's WebRTC. It has documentation inside of it. And by the way, this is on github.com/RingCentral and then the RingCentral Web Phone. There's documentation that tells how to install this phone if you want to use this, what the permissions are going to be. This has been updated, by the way. So it used to be you needed VoIP calling and interoperability. Now you just need VoIP calling. And we're working to try and get that turned on for everybody so they can just turn it on themselves. We can see here that it says you have to have a digital line attached to an extension to use this. And then we have directions on how to create that right inside of here for folks. So if they need that, it's easy to get a hold of. We provide the browser code if they want to see what they have to implement. So they have to have that video element like I showed you. And that provides the remote and local video, which the code behind of this web phone client library refers to when it's making calls. Then we give them, here's some application code to get that set up using the RingCentral JavaScript SDK. So you work with the JavaScript SDK with RingCentral and the web phone in order to be able to essentially establish and validate yourself, because you need to have a valid access token first, because you're going to have to make this client info SIP provision call, and that's going to require a valid access token, and that's going to give you the user agent that you need to be able to set this up inside of, set the web phone up appropriately, that allows you to start making or inviting people to call or receiving calls. It also says that, hey, there's a demo inside of here, and here are the steps that you would use to get that demo set up. And then it says, once you have these steps done, these are the steps you use it, that you follow inside of that demo code while it's running to test it out. I should already have this running. Let me switch over real quick, change directory to my GitHub and RingCentral Web Phone. There we go. And let's see, make sure I don't have a dirty setup. Whoops, get status. All right, good. And let me go ahead and fetch upstream. This is stuff, you won't usually have to do this. This is just me, git merge upstream master. Whoops, Opsify. There we go. Wait, what? Oh, git merge upstream. What the heck? Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead. So I'd already cloned this. That's how I was able to use this stuff inside of there. I've already changed directory inside of the directory. I didn't want to get sidetracked. I've already done the npm install, but I'm going to do it again just in case. npm install to make sure that all my dependencies are all set up the way they need to, make sure everything's doing just what it needs to do. So now my npm install is done, and now I should be able to write in npm start. And it should say down here, just like we expect, that 127, the loopback URL on port 8080 is available now. So I can open this URL. Let's take that, and you'll notice it has that /demo there. So I'm going to pop that open, and now we can see we have this RingCentral Web Phone Demo form right here. Now this isn't something that we would usually, that customers would implement in their application. A lot of this is going to happen behind the scenes using three-legged OAuth. This is just here for the demo purposes of being able to show people how quickly, you know, drop in these parameters to be able to use the various features of the phone. So we need to have some API keys. So we need an app key, an app secret. I'll need a login, the extension, and a password. So let me go ahead and, I've got this WebRTC demo app here. Let me grab my app key real fast. I'm going to copy this and head back over here, paste that in. Let's close this and grab my app secret real fast. Copy, come back over here, paste this. My user is going to be, let's see, this one should be this guy right here. So this is the digital line that I had set up. I don't need to include extension. So this is a digital line that I have in my account. Let me show you real quick service. So note that I'm going to service.dev test because I need to go into my sandbox account since that's where this starts. And I'll show you guys what that looks like real quick. I'm sure you all do, but just recording this for posterity's sake and maybe to share outside of the group with other customers. So let's go to users. And the number that I use, the 650-351-4622 number right here. Let's take a look at him. And then if I go into phone numbers, this number right here is set up as the RingCentral for desktop. That gives me, this is kind of what makes it the digital line. And you'll notice that my computer's name has authorized on here. If you ever kind of get locked up and you need to deauthorize a computer because these values don't cache and release as quickly as they should, you can come in here and deauthorize a computer and then re-auth with another user if you need to. So let's go ahead, and now that we know that's the user that I have, let's see if we can. I'm going to turn my log level up to debug, and what that does is that's going to. So right now I'm going to stop for a moment, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right-click inside of Chrome. I'm going to right-click and go to Expect, or you can also go up here to the hamburger icon, and I can go to More Tools and go down to Developer Tools if I want. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up this the developer console in Chrome, and I can use on Mac. I can use Command tilde to switch between the windows. And what I'm doing here is I want to watch this network tab when I submit this request. So I'm going to hit login, and let's come over here so we can see that we have, there's our token that we get, token's okay, and then here's the magic part that's kind of sometimes hard for people who aren't familiar with this to understand. So from this point forward, now that we have a valid token inside of here, we've made our platform requests, we can see that we got the account and the extension, we made our SIP provisioning call, the options call to that, then we made our actual call because that's part of what we're doing here, browser side code. And then we do this weird one here, this 101 switching protocols. So if I click on this, this is going to show me, here's the request we made. So we can see we made the request to the sandbox version of the RingCentral SIP server. It's a GET request. We can look at all the rest of the stuff that's inside of here if we want to, but here's where we really need to think about this, and here's why, because WebRTC uses socket-based communication in order to transmit data. That means that we won't have a whole bunch of extra requests down here that happen afterwards. Instead, it all happens in this frame. So the registration for the SIP connection starts here. Originally we were unauthorized, then we resubmitted that appropriately and it came back okay. We can see that right here. So that SIP registered request came back okay. And we should be all set up now. So that following SIP register request comes back and says, hey, you should be all good, at which point I should be able to put a number in here. So somebody on the phone, give me your number real quick.
303.
303.
419.
419.
9005.
9005. And for the people who are going to share this with publicly and outside in the world, what's your name so that they know who they're talking to when they drive you crazy?
Fillmore.
Fillmore, wonderful. Okay. So we're going to hit call, and let's see. Time started ringing. You should hear your phone ring in just a moment. I'm going to turn my audio up on my computer.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Wow. So now we can hear Fillmore here. Now you notice that I can. We have these call controls, so I can mute the call for a moment. And now you should only be able to hear me on the conference phone, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So now, then I'm gonna unmute, and now you should be able to hear me on both channels, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And then I'm gonna put you on hold for a second. And I don't know what happens on your end. I've never found out what the receiver hears right now. Do you hear anything, or is it just?
I'm getting your whole music.
Okay. And now I'm going to unhold you. And now you should hear me again. We can start recording this call if we want to, and stop recording, and then we can park the call as well. We can also use our call flip and call transfer, and we can add in dial tones if we want to as well. I think that I'm going to try this. I've never used this before. I think I could put it in just a number and hit send, and it should send the 2-digit sound to your phone.
Correct.
Outstanding. All right, so we've been on this call for a little while. That's fine, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hang this call up now. And when we switch back over here and we look at we'll see everything that happened there. So let me switch back over to these frames and show you what just happened here. So we had done our original invitation. We should see that register. There's our register, and there's our last one. Then we did the invitation. So we could see I invited a SIP connection to your phone. Whoops. Unfortunately, that jumps around with the audio sometimes for some reason or another. So I did the connection to your phone on our SIP, the RingCentral SIP servers. It sends that information out and says, hey, I'm trying your call. We proxy that appropriately on our back end. Then we get the ACK back that says, hey, all right, we should be good. Let's send this again. And ACK's just going to be making sure that we're checking things, trying it again. And sooner or later inside of here, we should see a pickup. That's our register, and there's our message right there, somewhere inside of there. I think that's no, that's going to be the goodbye. Yeah, somewhere inside of here, there's going to be the, okay, we're connected to our call. Like for some reason or another, my eyeballs, I've seen that. I don't know if I'm just old or what. And the ACK could be what happens during the call itself. This is where my telephony mastery is kind of weak. I'm a web application developer, not necessarily a telephony guy, but I'm betting that we could let telephony fellows look through this and they know what was happening at any given point. I've still got some learning to do about what's going on back there, but that's how you can take a look and see what's going on. So sometimes you may try and register, and instead of coming back 200, it may come back and say, you know, that there's a problem, you're not authorized. Well, that might mean that you need to go into developer portal, and for your application, you need to make sure that in the settings that you have VoIP calling enabled for that application. I can remove this one real quick. We don't need that anymore. Hit save. So you'll need to make sure that you have the VoIP calling enabled for your application, or it could also mean if you see you know, unauthorized or not unable to connect or invalid client, it could mean that you have that you're trying to use a phone number that is not set up as a digital line. I've seen that as well. So that's kind of the long and short and gist of how you use the RingCentral Web Phone Demo. All the code behind for those call controls that we showed you, all that's inside of here in the API. So we tell people what they can use as far as the API goes, how they initiate a call, which would be what happens when I actually click this call button right here. That's going to be this section of code for initiating a call. You'll see that I'm doing the web phones user agent. I want to invite, and we would pass in our code some phone number. We can also accept incoming calls with this. We see all the hold, unhold, mute, park, all those different functionalities are inside of there and documented so people can see how they can utilize those while a session is happening at any given point. And more importantly, you can go inside of here. So let me switch back over. You can actually go into this folder called Demo. And what you'll see here is this index HTML page, which is really just this page right here, this HTML code. And then there's index.js, which is the code that controls this UI. And we can see that inside of our sources. If we go in here, we'll see that there's the index, here's index right here. So there's the HTML, and if we went in and tried to map this up, we'd see it matches this repository right over here for that page. And then we would also be able to see that the index.js page is inside of here as well. If you want to debug using this, it's pretty easy. So if we wanted to try that again and find out what happens when the call's actually trying to register, we could throw in a little debug marker right in through here. And what happens is when we click on, when we load this page and try and fill that original form out, the code's going to stop execution here. Then we can hover over any one of these data points and see what that value is, and that provides us a little bit more transparency, and then we can use this button up here to step through or step over or step into each one of these next chunks of code to see what they're actually doing if we so choose. So that's kind of the long and short of not just how to use the RingCentral Web Phone Demo, but also all the components that work together for it. What questions do you guys have right now about this that I might be able to answer while we're still on the recording? If you're asking, you're on mute right now, by the way.
Hey, Hamill, why don't you show them what you're running into when you went through the NPM install and we got all those errors?
Yeah,
okay.
I can do that.
Okay, so let me go ahead. I'm going to stop share so you can start sharing.
Let me pull that back up here.
By the way, while Dave's loading that up, did what I just show you guys help, and did that answer some of your questions about how to utilize this?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so.
You might want to start by sharing your screen.
Yep, I'm there. I was just getting into the correct directory. So through Node.js, I had already done the git clone. I'd already, I've changed my directory. I want it to npm install.
Okay.
And I'm getting bunches of errors there. So, yeah, it ended up not working. And when I went to the, let me switch back to get the address. I went here. Copied wrong.
Yeah, right now that's going to fail.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a difference. You'll notice that I'm using a Mac to operate Node and NPM. That's going to be an installation issue.
Okay.
As far as NPM, you may want to use. There's a nice piece of software that exists called Git Bash, and what Git Bash does is it essentially allows you to run Linux style or Unix style Bash in a Windows environment. So I'm going to share my screen again real quick. And let's see here. There should be Git Bash. Let's see. Git downloads. Is that where they have this? The clients. Those are the GUI tools. Let's see. there used to be a Git Bash. Git for Windows provides a Bash emulation, yeah. So maybe Git for Windows, that might work as well. So essentially, you'll see that you get that same control panel, but you're going to be able to initiate, you're going to be able to execute requests such as are documented inside of here. Now, you may have to reinstall NPM, so you'll be able to do things like, where'd my installation directions go, Ben? There we go, brain dead, there. So the NPM install, RingCentral Web Phone, the Bower install, either one of those, you'll be able to initiate those the way you should and get what you expect out of the other side of that. You'll be able to use git clone and the cd command instead of using dir. So that's what that's going to do. That's git bash right here. And that gives you, that. I think that might work a little more effectively for you. Sometimes when you're doing, depending on how you've installed some of this software, you may need to use the sudo command. So from your command line, let me clear this real quick. Clear. So from your command line, instead of doing just an npm install, you may need to do what's called sudo, which stands for super user do npm install. And this is a permissioning thing based on the operating system that's Unix-like. So that you can tell by doing this. You can say npm -- version, so you can see what you're running. If you want to see what version you happen to be running, you can say npm. Let's see, who is npm? No, that's all our DNS stuff. What's the right command to find out who owns that? I'd have to find out where I installed it, and I can't remember if I used Homebrew or not. But anyway, what I would recommend, Dave, is go get Git Bash, and that'll give you that Unix-like command interface that I think that you're going to need that'll help you a lot. If you need extra help with that, let me know. But that's the direction I would go. There may be other tools that are out there similar to this, and I believe in Windows 10, the latest version of Windows, they're going to start having native support for Bash in the command line. What version of Windows are you on?
Windows 7. I did have Git Bash, so I did go through those. I did go through those steps, and it's now operating. So I redid the install and the npm start, and it's now operating, running out of Git Bash. So that is
okay.
That was absolutely the problem, or at least I've got the page. I haven't gone in and put in my app information, but.
Well, why don't we go ahead and let you do it real quick to make sure that that I'm not leading everybody down a bad path. So cool, you got it up and running. That's good.
So take those over here real quick.
You don't have to put that log level on debug, by the way. That's just for your own use.
Gotcha.
If you turn that down, then it'll be a lot less chatty.
It doesn't appear to.
So let's do this. So let's right-click in the window and go to Inspect, and then go. Let's take a look at the console in the tab of the developer tools there, up at the top. Yeah, and then try. Okay, so application needs. Scroll back to the top real quick, please. All right, and then slowly scroll down to our first red error there. So we're getting a problem on the SIP provision, field load, server response status 4.3. So does your application have the VoIP calling API permission?
Great question. I don't believe it does. Let me log into my account here.
And while you do that, I'm going to go ahead and so I'm going to log into our DPW admin so that I can turn that on for you. Let me log out of here. And I'm not going to show the world this right now, but because they don't need to see all of our magic backend tools.
Yep.
So yeah, take a look inside of your application real quick.
Yeah, I don't have the VoIP calling on there. That would have.
No worries. Can you do me a favor and tell me what the name of your application is, please?
Dave H _test app.
Test app, very good. And give me just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail here. And VoIP calling. And you've got a browser-based application. I forgot to address that. You do have to have a browser-based app, which is good.
It is
okay, so that has been saved now. You should have VoIP calling enabled for that application.
Yep, I do see that now. So.
Okay. So now what I would do is this. I just refresh the. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Right in. So currently, anybody in this. What'd you run into?
I disabled this.
Yeah, you got to give the browser permission to use your microphone and hardware. Since it's in what's called the now there's 2 sandboxes. There's the RingCentral developer sandbox accounts, and then there's another word that developers will sometimes call a sandbox, and that means the browser itself. So the browser, you have to grant explicit permissions for particular hardware access. So if customers are saying, hey, this isn't working, I'm on this particular browser, make sure that they've got that enabled. You can see that in Chrome up like where Dave found it up in the top right there. There's a little icon to click for video and audio.
Perfect. Yep, and I was able to make a call and have it answered, so that's beautiful.